Roommate forces me to move in the middle of a global fudging pandemic apocalypse with a newborn baby. It's my birthday and the roommate gets screwed by karma. G'day there guys, it's your Aussie Hubby Markee, back at it again with another r/EntitledPeople video. Now if you love me as much as I love you, then you know what to do, and I want you to mosey on over to that old like button and tackle it like Crocodile Dundee. Maybe even chuck an Aussie flag down in the comments. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody entitled people. Hello fellow Earth aliens, plague recipients, degenerates, unemployeds, sociopaths, saints, average Janes and Joes, and otherwise sentient life forms. Normally I'd never share anything this personal on social media. It's just not my thing. My thing is gardening and dogs and creeping Reddit and crappy cell phone games. But sometimes, we all just reach our breaking point. We all just say, enough! Today is my 31st birthday during a global pandemic on the 31st of March. I would say that's notable, momentous, even eventful, some would say. But that's not why I'm writing to all of you. Coronavirus can kiss my ass, hell is other people. All of this started partially by my own doing a year ago. I agreed to a room share with my knowingly narcissistic friend of 17 years. He was moving back to the States after living in China for 3 years. He seemed more well-adjusted, he had met the partner of his dreams. I loved this person. I thought to myself, everything will be fine, OP. You know how to pull up with his bullcrap, you'll save money, it'll be great. Obviously, the other doormat humans of the world know that this was a serious and egregious oversight on my part. Cartoonishly foolish, definitely 100% will end with OP getting treated like dirt, so all of you can skip to the end. Okay, things were okay at first. He slept on my couch for 2 weeks without paying rent before the lease was up. Smoked all of my weed, you know, the normal crap. Him, my brother, whom I've been roommates with for the better part of 5 years, and myself sign a lease on the outskirts of a trendy neighborhood. It's the kind of neighborhood that has a hipster coffee shop right next to a restaurant that's only open 3 days a week, right next to a condemned crack house. And you're pretty sure it's just a drug front. But whatever, you're only 10 minutes from downtown, and no one's broken into your house yet. Life is great. We all made decent money, even if we hated our jobs. 3 months in, this saga begins. Roommate smokes insane amounts of weed, and pops Adderall to focus all the time. Laziest tweaker I've ever fudgin' seen. Roommate accuses brother and I of stealing money from him, because he spent $1,500 in 1 month on weed for personal use, and smokes the occasional bowl with us. Roommate has a quote-unquote job working at a highly specialized summer camp at a well-recognized university. Roommate works from home 9 months out of this year and supervises teenagers for 3 months during the summer, all while getting paid $45,000 a year with those cushy government benefits. I really wish I could get paid that to smoke weed and play computer games. Life really would be great. Roommate's fiance gets arrested for drugs in totalitarian country. I ask roommate to treat me like a human because it freaks me out that he never speaks to me and he never leaves his room. Relatable. I'd also appreciate it if he'd clean up after himself. Roommate says that I'm insensitive for asking him to be cordial, occasionally, because I am experiencing depression also, and would like for him to at the very least ask me how my fudging day was every once in a while. We were good friends for some time after all. He's just under so much stress right now, due to fiancé troubles and a job, that he can't be bothered to acknowledge my existence. He also can't be bothered to acknowledge the existence of the dishes, trash day, an ashtray, or his actual job. So, summer comes, and I quit my job because I hate it, and it's slowly eating my soul. I do not have another job, but I'm done. I take a job supervising children at the summer camp for 1 month. Things continue to deteriorate. Roommate's fiancé flees totalitarian country to avoid mandatory community service in home state, and comes to live in our house rent-free indefinitely. Roommate's fiancé is a lovely person, brother, and I get along very well with him. Roommate elopes. They get a puppy. Violating lease term as the only dog allowed on property is brother's dog. All is well. So I get 2 jobs, which I love. I'm happy and busy and social, and I don't need that jerk. So I pretty much write the friendship off at this point, and I just want to get through the lease without any volcanic explosions. Brother's friends with benefits gets pregnant and decides to keep it. She moves in with us too, and I'm okay with this because she's a good human and also needs a safe place to incubate a tiny person. So, I now live in a 3-bedroom house with 4 other humans and 2 dogs and continue to pay 1/3 of the rent and bills. Brother's partner and I do nearly all of the cleaning, despite the fact that roommate and husband are always home and cooking and we all go to work. Fall and winter come and go. I try to keep the peace. Doormats and pushovers enter here. Alright, you've skipped to this part now. Spring arrives, and Australia is on fire. Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter crash, China has some nasty crap going on, and I shamefully watch Love is Blind on Netflix. Everything is fine. After weeks of discussion dodging by roommate, we politely tell roommate that we do not wish to cohabitate with him and new husband after the end of the lease term. New baby is due in March, and I've accepted that I'd much rather live with a newborn than some psycho off of Craigslist. Trust me, just don't do it, I've been there. Roommate states that he and new husband just can't move in right now due to bullcrap extenuating circumstances, like how his fake real job is just too stressful during the summertime. He would rather illegally sublet from us indefinitely once the lease is up, and it'll totally be fine living with 5 people and a baby and 2 dogs. They'll probably be out by the end of the summer. We don't want to argue with roommate despite new baby being due in March, and lease being up in April. So we agree to find a new place. Roommate and new husband can find another roommate. We give required notice of said intentions to our landlord. Roommate informs landlord that he will be staying. We find a nice place for $400 a month, less than our current place. Let me repeat that, $400 a month less than our current place in late February, and sign a lease in early March to move in April. Everything is great. Things begin to go further downhill. Roommate is all over the place. Nice one day, jerk the next. Baby is late. We decide to move in early to the new place so new mum and dad can have some peace with the new baby and we can leave this toxic environment. We pay prorated rent for March for new house in addition to March rent for old house. Roommate begins to lose his ever-loving crap. Trump announces disaster declaration. Baby girl comes on the 16th of March via C-section. We move all of our crap out in the middle of a global fudging pandemic with a newborn fudging baby 1 week after her birth. Roommate accuses brother and I of endangering his life for collecting our belongings out of our own fudging house. Roommate says terrible things to me. Roommate apologizes for terrible things. We get a puppy. Roommate states that they will not be continuing the lease in said house after we've moved with a newborn baby in the middle of a global fudging pandemic because they can't afford it anymore, when all we wanted was to be there originally. Roommate states they will withhold deposit as last month's rent from landlord and pay us our deposit himself. I suspect they never intended to pay us any money at all. Puppy eats a sock. Roommate says we can go screw ourselves, but I'm also a saint for being so patient with him while he spews toxic nuclear waste all over me for the past 2 weeks. All we want to do is get the last of our crap out and clean the fudging house so we can get our fudging deposit back. Roommate bars us entry to house and claims that he has spoken to a lawyer and he will call the cops if we come back because we are endangering his life and we have no legal right to enter. Roommate says we're broke, have no money, and he will make sure we don't get our deposit back. We're piece of crap human beings, etc. Brother and I decide to call the landlord and explain the situation in detail, calmly and truthfully. Landlord sides with us, and states that we did give her notice that we would be leaving at the end of the lease term, and we are entitled to a walkthrough and whatever portion of our deposit is applicable, and she is happy to escort us onto the property with the police escort in tow. Landlord states that roommate has not contacted her since he asked for a reduction in rent and requested to resign the lease without a deposit. Landlord says she ain't trying to play no games and she has a son in this last year of college. She states that we practically were the only ones who paid rent and deposit. All payments transferred directly through brother's accounts, and she will be depositing all of the deposit directly back to us, and y'all can work it out amongst yourselves. So, we tell landlord we are sorry roommate is trying to screw her over. Landlord is sad that we couldn't stay, but she understands. Brother and I are happy and relieved to be done with this psycho. Roommate proceeds to call landlord and realizes how much he has screwed himself. Proceeds to try and apologize to us. Very sorry that he's now responsible for $4,000 worth of rent due to not giving proper 60-day notice to vacate property, and may lose another $500 in deposit money. Just wants to walk. Except neither me nor my brother will answer any calls or texts. We are done. Puppy finally threw up the sock. Karma is a fucking bitch. I literally could not make this crap up if I tried. The world is a literal dystopian nightmare fever dream and everything is fine. It's my birthday. Let's just party like it's 2012 and Obama just won re-election. Only safely and 6 feet apart with very clean hands, and don't forget not to touch your fudging face. I hope you guys really liked that dramatic rendition. I don't do these much and I won't be doing them much, but hey, maybe I will if it goes well. You are exactly one 80s hit theme song away from being a direct-to-television movie of the week. So happy it worked out for you, and happy birthday! How does this sock stay in the puppy so long? Wouldn't it choke or something? Puppy is a 7-month-old 55-pound black labradoodle that we adopted. Technically, it was 2 halves of a sock. It was only inside him for about 3 days, and I'm glad I didn't have to foot an emergency vet bill. He's fine, and we're playing fetch in the new backyard right now. I think Reddit tradition requires that if a pupper is mentioned in a story, a pic of the doggo should be shared if at all possible. I added a pic already, but I'll put another one here as well. And here you guys go, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just the best dog you ever see in your life? Oh my god, I want him. Alright, let's get back to reality and normal marking readings from here on out. And our next story is by Quapsipititi, titled, Entitled Person Confirmed with Virus Strolls Around Hospital and Grocery. Hello everyone, this is my first post and this is not my story, but it's all over the news in my country. So there is this entitled parent, a male Karen who holds a high position in the government here, whom we shall call KP, or Crazy Parent. Now, KP apparently tested positive for the COVID-19. Given his position in government, he announced it via media. He took his swab test last March 20, and was suffering from the symptoms even earlier. Now, here is where it gets juicy. Apparently, the night before his announcement, and after his swab test, he went into a very big hospital in our city and pranced around the delivery room to accompany his pregnant wife, who was due for a C-section delivery. He has supposedly known his diagnosis before this, but nonetheless decided that his child's birth is more important and sent more than 22 healthcare workers in the hospital into quarantine for exposure to the virus. This, instead of going into isolation himself while waiting for his results. Naturally, the hospital was annoyed as they were already depleted in staff thanks to frontliners being exposed. Now they had to lose more manpower because of KP. They released a strongly worded letter condemning KP for his reckless actions. But it does not end there, as apparently KP was also seen doing groceries in our country's equivalent of Tesco during his isolation period. Something which the grocery has confirmed in a statement, given KP's status. Of course, he was interviewed. However, instead of apologizing, KP, ever the government official, simply said they ought to clean the hospital corridors. I stayed there. So there, everyone here now is mad at KP. We're sorry, but due to some irresponsible idiot coming here after he was known to be positive, we have lost 22 of our medical staff to quarantine. As a result, we had to reassign staff from our other areas, so we will be unable to accommodate your wife in our obstetrics ward. Hope she doesn't run into problems giving birth at home. Well, according to the news, the baby came out negative for COVID. At least that's a gem among the crap. And our next story by Innocent Subterfuge. The starch in my cart. Long-time listener, first-time caller. This happened all last week at a big box store. I'm finally getting around for doing some DIY projects in my apartment, and one of them is attaching fabric to IKEA closet doors using liquid starch so it can be removed and or changed without damaging the furniture. Sounds like something my mum would do. This particular liquid starch comes in blue gallon containers that strongly resembles bleach, and that's where my trouble began. EM entitled mother, me, you get it. I have the container of starch in my otherwise empty cart, apparently label facing inward to where entitled mother couldn't see what the contents were. Excuse me, where did you get that? I was told it was sold out. Oh, just in that aisle over there. And I gestured towards the laundry aisle where I found it, and she ran. I was still in the same aisle when she came back. The long decisions between Pop-Tart flavors ruined me. And she was furious. You lied to me. There was no bleach in that aisle. My bad. This is actually liquid starch, not bleach. Sorry for the confusion. Well, give me that container since you lied. I didn't mean to lie to you. I assumed you were asking about the product in my cart. If you want a container, there are more than plenty available, as I'm sure you saw. That's very rude of you. You can go get your own container. My daughter needs that for slime, and I don't want to go back across the store for it. I swear I blacked out when she said the word slime. I'm not giving you this container. You should have grabbed your own container while you were there. But I was looking for bleach. I started to walk away at this point, in the opposite direction with my back to the entitled mother. The next thing I knew, she had grabbed the back of my coat to reach over me and grab the container. Thankfully, I managed to push the cart away before she reached her goal. It cart-rolled into a display of some boxed item and knocked over half, and got us the attention of those nearby. This girl is stealing my cart. Note, I am 5'1", wear thick-ass glasses, both in lenses and frame, slightly overweight, and I look like I'm 17. I am the least intimidating person on the planet. At this point, I'm bright red, humiliated, still getting manhandled by a crazy woman, and panicking that she may be crazy enough to not believe that we're in a pandemic. So I shake her off a little aggressively, and she falls to the ground. The jury is still out between bystanders and myself, whether she actually threw herself to the ground. Employees are calling as the woman is still on the floor, screaming about needing the starch in my cart for her slime. When security and a manager comes, she tries to say that I stole her cart again, to which I point out the item she wanted was supposedly in her cart already, and therefore she attacked me for no reason. Then she tries to say the cart is mine, but I stole the starch from her. Bystanders and eventual security footage proved her wrong. She received a 6-week ban from the store. So here I am, Reddit, sitting alone in my tiny-ass apartment, hoping that this bat-crap woman didn't give me a potentially fatal disease in a city with the highest number of cases in our state. I hope her daughter spills slime in her hair. And on to our next story by the Cater Gator. A literal Karen makes me take her order in the hail. So restaurants are still doing takeout options during quarantine, and I've been lucky to get as many hours as I have during this crazy time. I hope you are all healthy and safe by the way. My job is to go out to our parking lot, get the name and daughter of the person in the spot, and let our to-go team know so I can bring out their food. Usually, people put in their order online or over the phone, so it's ready to pick up when they get there. But today, everyone wanted to place an order upon arrival, which usually isn't an issue. It can just take longer to get their food. I have been having a great morning. Orders were manageable and on time. People were tipping, and I was never out in the rain/hail for more than a minute or two. Then, she drove up. Karen and her friend Cheryl. They roll up in the same car. I walked through the heavy hail, trying to ignore the thunder in the sky, and asked if they placed their order online and what the name it was under. The conversation went like this after Karen rolled her window down an inch. Me yelling over the hail, "Hello, did we place an order online for pickup? My name is Karen, I have 2 orders. Okay, great, is there a last name associated with the order? No, we want to place one. Can I do that with you? Oh, you can call or place the order online. The menu is online as well, but I can bring you a paper copy to look at before you call. Why can't I place it with you? I don't need a menu. We both know what we want." I pause a moment to let her hear the thunder and the sound of the heavy hail smacking me in the face and on my coat. "Ma'am, I'm being hailed on. Can you place your order online or over the phone? It is your job to take our orders. Ma'am, I don't have a paper to take your orders. Can you call or..." Karen in the snarkiest tone only Karens can master. "Well, it won't be hard to go inside and get something to write on, will it?" At that point, I gave up and went inside to get something to write her order on. The paper got hailed on, I got hailed on, and Karen and her friend got their food, leaving no tip and my faith in humanity behind. And with that out of the way, we're on to the next story by Pumpkin Spice My Life. Please don't test the products during the plague. So I was in Target today looking for lotion for my dry hands, when I heard this conversation in the next aisle over. The next aisle is makeup. All the employees are spread out stocking shelves and disinfecting everything. A lady is browsing the makeup and apparently started opening products to test on her skin. The employee rushes over and yells, "Please don't do that again. I have to throw this item out now because it touched your skin." "Well, I was testing it. There aren't any testers for this. Please don't open any more products. We took out all the testers. How am I supposed to test them then? You can't test them. Please don't open any more products." After that, I left. Again, this was just a conversation I heard. I did not see what the lady was testing, but I do know there was makeup in the aisle. Make your own guesses. And with that quick one, we're on to our next one, by X Twisted Brains X. Entitled woman, 54, throws tantrum in supermarket because she can't buy more than 1 packet of toilet paper, gets arrested. So I found this gem in my local newspaper today. I'm from Germany, so I'll translate it for y'all to enjoy. It's not worth me putting on screen, it's literally just an article in German. Toilet paper protest on checkout counter belts. Because a woman in Bergnestad town was only allowed to buy 1 package of toilet paper, she sat down on the checkout counter belt in protest. Police eventually had to escort her out in handcuffs. As officers disclosed on Thursday, the 54-year-old woman wanted to buy multiple packages of toilet paper the day before. When she was told to only buy 1 pack and to put the others back, the woman sat on the checkout counter belt and hindered further sales. The officers on scene were unable to calm her down. When they proceeded to handcuff her, the woman resisted violently. She began screaming, she threw herself onto the ground, resisting police measures, and ultimately had to be carried to the patrol car, said police officers. When she was released from custody, she still did not have any toilet paper. A buying process never occurred due to the rampage. I hope you enjoyed this small tale of insanity as much as I did this morning. Stay safe, everyone. And our next heckin' post. You need to schedule your cousin's death 2 weeks in advance. So I recently watched Mark Narrations read a similar story in a video and decided to share my own. I don't talk about this particular incident much as it still really upsets me. Also, I'm on mobile. So I used to work in a chain hair salon, let's call them Good Snips, a few years back. 2017 was a rough year for me that started with losing my cousin. He was like a brother to me and I still haven't recovered from that loss. He had a long battle with addiction that unfortunately he just couldn't kick. My family got the call one night that he had passed away and we were just torn. I missed the next day of work and when I came back, I explained that his memorial was going to be in a few days. My general manager told me that I needed to schedule all time off 2 weeks in advance. My manager told me I shouldn't be so upset, and realized that my cousin was the lucky one, because he didn't have to continue to live in the current state of unease. The day of his memorial, they made me work and made me stay late. I was an hour late to my cousin's memorial service because I was told if I left I would be fired. My mother was waiting outside, continuously looking at me trying to get me to leave. My uncle was blowing up my phone and threatening to show up to my salon and give my managers a piece of his mind. Neither of them even offered my condolences for my loss. They just told me I needed to smile for the customers and suck it up. When I told them I had to go, my general manager told me that she could hold me as long as she needed, and that if she needed me to miss his memorial, she would hold me for that long. My mum couldn't wait much longer and came in and told my general manager if she didn't let me leave, she was going to contact a lawyer, and she for harassment. Needless to say, she let me leave. My aunt and uncle held up starting the memorial until my mother and I were there. I didn't work there much longer after that, though for an unrelated reason. I was in a car accident and can no longer cut hair as a result. Jesus, this is just a story of sadness, is it not? I feel bad for everyone in there, Jesus Christ. And our next story is by Beth J 2018, titled, But It's a U-Haul. Some history. I've been moving from my tiny apartment to my new house about 3 miles away for almost a week. I've been doing most of it myself with help from my teenagers, because all my friends and family are impacted by the statewide coronavirus shelter-in-place order where I live. I have my old place till the end of the month and have been going slow and steady to not hurt myself. But after 5 days of this, I am exhausted, and there's still a lot more to do. I was with my kids in the huge pickup truck that I had borrowed, pulling in front of the apartment, and I saw no parking spaces available. I did see a U-Haul about the same size as my truck, diagonally parked across 2 spots in the row opposite of my place. Not an ideal location, but better than nothing. I pulled up close and waited for one of the 3 college-age girls going in and out to notice me. One did, and I asked to have one of the spots. She went inside to get her mother, who came out and said, "We're moving," as if that explained her lousy parking ability. I told her I was too, and needed one of the spots. She said, "Well, we're going to be another 30 minutes, and then you can have it." She then walked back into her apartment. I sent the kids into the apartment to start preparing the next load. Miss Thing came out, and I told her it wasn't okay to take 2 spots. She said, "But it's a U-Haul," and shrugged her shoulders at me. I said that didn't give her the right to take 2 spots. She said, "Well, I'm not moving it, so you can wait," before going inside again. By this time, about 5 minutes since we arrived, my kids were peeking out to see what was going on, and I kept sending them back inside. I pulled the truck in front of both spots where the U-Haul was and turned off the engine. I got out, locked it, and stood in front of the driver's door. She came out with another load, saw me, and said, "We're only going to be here another 5 minutes. I told her that wasn't what she originally said, and that she was wasting my time. I told her she could let me know when she wanted to work it out, and then I left the truck parked there. I went to my apartment, and of course the kids can't help but wonder what's going on. I shooed them inside and kept my eyes on the truck to make sure Miss Thing didn't do anything stupid. A minute later, she came out, walked across the lot towards my apartment, pointed to a black car, and said, "If I move my car, would this spot be better for you?" I agreed, and she moved her car for me to back my truck perfectly into the one spot, so she could see it was possible. I went inside, and my kids and I all had a good laugh. Edit, because some people are commenting on how difficult this parking must have been, I'd like to add that she left with a truckload and came back while I was still working on mine. This time, she parked in one spot and did just fine. And our last post is by Zuby Mum, titled, "I got a Karen to apologize." Sorry that this is a tad long, but I think about this incident every time I hear a Karen story, and I felt it was high time that I posted it. This happened a couple years ago, and at the time, I didn't know what a Karen was. Luckily, our paths crossed at an unnerving time for me, so I wasn't having any of her crap. I had to make my way to an appointment, but first thing I needed to stop by the postal annex to mail out important documents for my fiancé. As I was walking towards the door, I see this elderly woman trying to hold open the door while rolling in a dolly full of packages. I held the door open for her. At this point, I figured I would have to make myself comfortable standing in line, because she had so many packages to mail out. As it turned out, she worked there. It was surprising to me because this woman couldn't be any younger than 70 years old, but she acted older. I chalked it up to the expense of living in the Bay Area. Unless you have a few dozen golden eggs that you're sitting on, there's no way you're going to retire. So given her age and demeanor, she worked at a very slow pace. No big deal, I already told myself to get comfortable standing in line. She was helping the woman in front of me when all of a sudden the Karen walks in. Middle-aged woman running around in yoga pants. One of the vest thingies you'd wear on a hike, big sunglasses, and medium-length clearly dyed blonde hair thrown up in an I'm important ponytail. Everything she was wearing was very nice, so it's clear she had money. After all, this postal annex just happened to be in one of the richest cities in the Bay Area. I didn't think anything of her at first, but after about 5 minutes of her standing in line, she just bolts past me and goes straight to the counter. She tosses her package on the counter next to the woman who is currently being helped, and without saying excuse me, she just starts telling the employee that she needs this mailed out. Here's the address, I'll be back in a bit to pay. Then she leaves without giving the employee the chance to decline. I was livid. How dare she interrupt another customer and then go on to treat the employee like a servant? However, there was nothing I could do about it. She was gone, and I'd most likely be gone before she came back. The woman in front of me also happens to be much older in age, so between her and the employee, things were going slow. Not a problem because I was too busy thinking about my appointment and worrying about what the doctor was going to say to me. First it was a tumor, now it was 2, now it was 4. Am I going to survive surgery? Do I have cancer? Will I be able to have kids after, or do they have to remove my uterus? Some of the tumors had fused to other organs. Will they be able to remove them without having to harm anything else? I was having an internal meltdown. I didn't even notice that 10 more minutes had passed. Then it was finally my turn. I was about 2 minutes in when a man came strolling in. He went to the part of the counter that deals with receiving, from what I could tell. Since this woman was the only employee at the time, he would have to wait. He just propped himself against the counter and played with his phone. 5 more minutes have passed, and I'm starting to realize it's getting close to my appointment time. I'm still being patient. The employee is having a hard time operating the computer system. She kept apologizing, and it was clear that she felt overwhelmed with using it. I told her, no problem, take her time. Although not ideal, I could reschedule my appointment. I just didn't want her to feel rushed or like she's doing anything wrong. Whatever reassurance I gave her flew out the window the moment Karen came back. She made her way to the line and blurted out, "You still haven't gotten my package?" Oh, okay. I was pissed. What a bitch, I thought. Though I decided not to say anything unless she continued to be a bitchy bitch. Of course, she did. She started huffing constantly with a hint of whine. After a couple of minutes of her doing so, I had enough. I turned around and said, "Look, we're moving as fast as we can. You need to be patient. I'm actually in a rush and I need to get to a very crucial doctor's appointment, yet I'm still standing here being patient. Be patient." Karen was a little taken aback, but she still decided to speak. "But I'm always patient." Me, in a calm yet strict tone. Tossing a package at the employee, telling her to mail it out so that you can leave, probably to rain hell on some other employees somewhere, come back and complain that she hasn't gotten to your package yet, and then huff and puff in line like a child is not being patient. If you were always patient, we wouldn't be having this conversation now, would we? She looked like she got slapped in the face with a reality stick. She meekly said sorry and shut up for the rest of the time while she was waiting. After I had finished, I thanked the lady helping me, turned to Karen, and smiled and told her to have a good day. She said you too, and good luck with your appointment. I thanked her and left. A part of me wanted to stay to make sure that the man at the end of the counter, who had been waiting patiently, was going to be served next. I really hope he was, and that Karen didn't pull that crap of, "I was here first," even though she left and was gone about 15 to 20 minutes. For the record, no cancer, safely removed old tumours, other organs just have a little scar tissue. And I was able to have a kid. Just gave birth to a baby girl, although I was in labour for 2 days because of the surgery. But aside from that, all went well. Alright, that's a lot more than I expected of this story, and I'm really glad that it went the way it did. What did you guys think of this one today? I'd love to know your opinions. Tell me anything at all, tell me how you've been surviving this bloody quarantine. Anyway guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, there's 70% of you who are not, so I'd really love for you to smash that button so we can get to 100k subscribers by the end of the month. That's all from me today. I love your faces, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.